Hi everybody, I wanted to post this segment on reading for pets and animals. Likely it's going to be a longish one, so you may want to even listen to it a couple of times to take in all the information or listen to it in segments. So I have over the years done quite a few readings for clients, pets, and animals. I've also read for property, for trees on properties, for crops, for water sources, rivers, wells. So keep in mind when you're going to read for an animal, or if you do want to open up to that side of your abilities, the animals obviously are part of the natural world, which we are too, but also you can read insects, you can read plants. I believe you can read weather patterns. I really do find that there are gestalts of consciousness in a lot of the things in our natural world, and you can open up to connecting with the consciousness or the form or the entity of, say, a weather pattern or a natural disaster. But for this segment, I'll mostly be talking about animals. I have, over the years, read for ill or injured animals, lost animals, and deceased animals. I've read for dogs and cats and horses, one turtle, and a beehive. I've read for parasites in a client's digestive system to get information on what's going on with the parasite. I've also read in the same client their other living bacteria in their digestive system. This was for someone who had pretty extensive digestive issues due to other occurring medical diseases. And so working with that person's gut biome, the living beings in that person's biome ended up being really quite helpful for them and helpful for their medical doctor in really pinpointing what would be healing at that time. There's so much that goes into our digestive tract, so many things, functions and processes happening that if you have a lot going on there, sometimes it's really hard to pinpoint just exactly what it is. So I share all of these examples to help you understand what's possible when you open up to reading other living beings. I, over the years, have become a couple of vets in the Seattle area. Their referral, when a client of theirs has an issue with one of their pets or animals, or one of their pets or animals have gone missing, I often will get referrals from that vet office, and I can help. That's something else. If you're doing sessions professionally, or you think you will in the future, that's another cooperative connection you can make in your community. One thing I want to remember to point out that I've experienced is that animals have a very different experience of time passing. And so I've learned to establish my understanding of that particular animal's sense of timing so that we can all be on the same page. So I'm trying to think of an example of that. When a client calls me, say, with a question about their pet, as in, is it possible to determine how much longer my pet may live with this condition, say a question like that. I want to always be sure psychically to check in with the animal's consciousness, the animal's body, the animal's higher self, and get a sense of, what do they refer to as time, or how do they experience time. It's often really, really different. I will also add to that, animals seem to, in different species, are different also. They experience pain differently, they experience sensation differently. So I always make sure I am careful to release any preconceived ideas I have, or filters, or presumptions about how an animal, or a plant, or a beehive, how they experience. I try to carefully release assumptions I might make from my own experience of things like time, or physical sensation, pain, those kinds of things. That's I have gotten to understand different beings experience our world differently than we do, and it's important to understand where they're coming from. Another important thing I've noticed over these years reading animals is there tend to be, for me, two main types of animal consciousnesses. Pretty broadly put, I can say I communicate with some animals, higher selves or soul selves, as an animal being. And then some animals, once I get into their energy and have a psychic rapport with them, and in communicating with them, it dawns on me that they are souls who are currently projecting a portion of their overall consciousness into an earthly living animal that might be someone's pet. They're not solely souls who incarnate into animal beings. They are higher selves like you and I, our higher selves, and they've just decided to incarnate into a non-human expression, a non-human body. And so, there's obviously no way for me to scientifically test this out based on the science we currently use, but I really do trust my experience, and I really do trust what I'm given in readings, the information that I'm given. And so I have really noticed that. So that might be something else to keep in mind if you're tuning in on an animal. First of all, check, is it sometimes a client or a person's spirit guide will choose to project or have a counterpart of their consciousness into an animal, and then go become a part of their person's family. So many times I've tuned in on the family dog to find that dog is part of the consciousness of one of their guides, and they to be a beloved animal in the family is another way to provide guidance. Sometimes I have found that to be true when an animal has come into someone's life when they are really processing a difficult time, illness, say, or grief, and then all of a sudden this dog or cat shows up and helps that person get through a particularly challenging time. And then I, as a psychic, read that animal and find out, oh my gosh, it's the client's guide or the deceased loved one's guide to say, we're sending you this beloved animal to help you with this. There are so many facets to reading animals that I have found over these years. Something else kind of along those lines, or a bit similar, and I have shared this story before in my past life regression class. I was facilitating a regression for a client, and she was having, through hypnotherapy, she was having the direct experience of emerging into an incarnation where she was so surprised to find, well, I'm flying. I'm flying. And then with my guidance as the hypnotherapist, asking, look at your body, look around you, what do you see, what do you feel? Well, through those questions, she was able to understand she had incarnated into one of her lifetimes when she was a dragonfly. And for her to have that direct, through hypnotherapy, experience of being a flying being, of completely experiencing the earth plane so differently. I mean, her lifespan was mere days, if I recall, maybe even hours. And so she lived a lifetime in a blink of an eye to us. And when I presented a question to her subconscious, her soul, herself, through this experience, what did you learn? What are you learning in this lifetime? And her voice got filled with wonder, and she said, I'm learning how to be part of a community. And my client was able to understand dragonflies have an incredible community network. And so then when the client came out of that experience, she had a completely revised connection and understanding and empathy toward dragonflies and insects that caused her then to look at animals as a whole differently, to understand that there are so many ways to experience life on this planet, and there are some enormous, mind-boggling differences. One client I work with who has a dog who was needing surgery on one of her legs, and the vets, the animal surgeon were really advising my client to have her dog have this pretty extensive, pretty serious surgery. And so my client came to me and said, I would be interested in getting input from my dog's higher self. What does my dog want? And so, first of all, since this is a learning circle we're in, I want to remind everyone of what I'm sure you guys already know. But if you're doing a reading for someone and it has to do with any kind of medical issue, you want to always remind the client or remind whomever you're reading for, I am not a medical doctor. I am not a veterinarian. I am not able to diagnose or treat or prescribe. Obviously, as you know, I just want to remind you of that. However, psychically, here's what I'm getting. And so in this case with my client's dog, I went to the dog and said, do you want this surgery? And the dog said, no, I don't. And when I asked why, and the dog shared that for the dog and her experience and being in this dog body, yes, she was very aware of the leg that was not functioning correctly. However, in her mind, she sees it as an adaptation. She was not in pain, and therefore she was in her own mind, in her own body, was beginning to easily adapt to the situation in the leg and other muscles, the changing of the gait, various reasons, more than I'm going into here. The doctor said, not only do I not want this surgery, but to have the surgery and to restore my leg to what you all think is perfection, or improvement is not that for me, and the surgery will be difficult for me. The recovery from the surgery will be difficult. The physical therapy will be difficult. To me, that's the bigger injury. To me, I see this surgery as an injury, further injury. And so for my client, that was really stunning because, of course, she loves her dog. She wants to help her dog. She gets the best vets she could find for her dog, and the vets are helpful. They're wanting to fix. Everyone was doing this out of love and in service. But the dog was saying, well, that's all for you. For me, it's a really different thing. So I share that because it's another, to me, quite profound example of we must be careful not to project onto animals or, anyone, anything that's living, that has consciousness, our own assumptions. That's a good rule in general, anytime we're doing a psychic reading, but particularly with a being that, we are unfamiliar with. Another area I've worked on that has been really helpful for me in reading and understanding the animal kingdom and plant kingdom is through my work with power animals, recalling that my training and background in a lot of my practice is shamanic, earth-based indigenous medicine. A big part of that earth medicine are the living creatures on the earth. And so my personal practice and my professional training in shamanism and animism has caused me to connect quite deeply with animal medicine. And so, for instance, if I am reading a client's horse, say, I will also call in horse medicine. The deep personal connection over the years I have made through my own efforts to understand horses as a whole on the planet. I then call in horse and say, horse, please help me. Here is one of your brothers, one of your sisters, one of your daughters, one of your sons. Please help me to bring forward good medicine for your horse here. So studying and working with power animals, if you feel called to it, is a beautiful way to help read and assist in facilitating healing for animals and for lost animals. Again, I want to say animals run away a lot, and so having to do or getting asked to do readings for people's animals who have run away, that's pretty common. And oh my goodness, that's again that's a great use of remote viewing. That's a great use of psychic ability, of course, telepathy, asking to see through the animal's eyes, asking to have the animal, where are you? Do you want to be found? Sometimes animals run away because, they're ready to wind their life down. I mean, there are infinite amount reasons you might pick up on when you're reading for an animal that has run away. Another shamanic-based practice that has helped me deepen my ability to help people with their animals is when I conduct shamanic journeys for myself. I often will encounter an animal who's a wisdom keeper, and I get to, through that connection, I get to learn about animals. I've also gone into a shamanic journey to assist in an animal case, go into a journey doing drumming, to alter my brainwave state, and then go journey, where is this animal? Where are the animal's ancestors? I'm journeying on behalf of this animal. What can I tell this animal's humans about their experience? I find shamanic practice to be a natural support to reading anything that has to do with the natural earth world. It just makes sense to call on those spirits of the earth to help read our fellow beasts that we know and love, but there's a whole other realm of experience they have that we don't, in our everyday focus, we don't have an inkling of. Even for those of us who live closely with animals, I have found doing psychic work on behalf of animals, there's so much more going on that we just tend to miss in our humanly based focus. So those are the main things I have on my mind right now to share with you about reading for animals. If I think of more, I'll share them here. If any of you already have experience reading for animals, or as you've watched and listened to this, something's come up for you, perhaps one of your guides has inserted an idea into your mind, or maybe you've listened to this while one of your own animals is nearby, and all of a sudden you're feeling, wow, I am really hearing that my animal. You share with us. I would love this post to have comments underneath, if you feel called, of how do you read for animals? What do you know? What have you learned? Or if you have any questions from me or for any of us around reading for animals or reading for beings in the natural world, plants, even trees, this is a great topic, and it's one that's near and dear to my heart. All right, I'm going to end this here and hope you're all doing really well, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.